Okay, we're up to Daf Ayin Dalit Amid Beis. It's our good Erev Shabbos Kodesh, and we have we're learning out the 5 Inuyim that the Isra Achila, Shtia, Nilas Hasandal, Chitza, and Shmamita. We said there are 5 Lashonis of Inuyim, 2 in Parshas Achimos, 3 in Parshas Emor, and we try to ascertain Me'aned to be to suffer, to give pain. So we suggested maybe the pain is refraining from Tashmish. Says no, the Tanus Nashasechem over here, it's referring to Achila. We learned it out from the Mun. Just like the Mun is an Indian of Achila and it says Lashon Tanu. So therefore, as well, Manoischa, to go ahead and test us, to pain us. And we're going to see what exactly the pain was by the Mun. And that's the segue into this Sugya. We're going to have a lot of statements of Ravami, Ravasi. We don't know who says what. We'll bring in all other places in Shas where Ravami, Ravasi doesn't say what. And then we'll get back to the Mun and go through a whole Agarata about the Mun. So we're up to Ayin Dalam with Beis, about 8 lines to the bottom. Fed you Mun the Midbar in order to go ahead and pain you. What was the pain? The pain was the not knowing. Again, going to sleep every night, nothing in the refrigerator, not knowing. There's a pain. There's a certain pain, right? It's because Baruch Hu lets us be mishtadel, let us to come. It's very. Chavis Halav says the whole, and that actually was the Beis Halevi I saw it in. Beis Halevi says the purpose of a shtadlus is to come to bitachon, because we know it's impossible not to have total bitachon without having a little something. So we go to work, we do things, and that lets us come to bitachon. So I always give it a mashal. Like l'chayra, it's easy to go to sleep at night with the full refrigerator or something in the refrigerator rather than nothing in the refrigerator. The Yidden in the Midbar, they went to sleep with nothing in the fridge. That was the pain. You don't know what's going to be the next day. One of them says, we don't know again who says what. In other words, something about going ahead and seeing your food, but not seeing your food, you don't have enjoyment. In other words, the Mun looked the same, looked like we're going to see God shad. It was like a white coriander, it was looked the same, but you didn't see it. You don't see the food. You don't enjoy the food. I think one time in my sukkah we had duck, and somehow someone broke the light, and we couldn't go ahead and totally enjoy it because we couldn't see the duck. Gedenk das Baruch. Yeah. So I'm Rabbi Yosef. Mikan remes l'sumim sh'oichlim ve'ein seveim. Here's a remes to sumim, people who are blind. They eat, but they're not sveim, but they don't satiate because they don't see the food. And it's very interesting. Rabbi Yosef was a Suma guy. So Rabbi Yosef was a Suma. Amar Abaye Hilkach man de islay sudasa le'lichlei el biyom. You have a suda, you should eat it during the day where you can enjoy it. You're seeing your food. You have to seeing the food is the enjoyment. I'm going to say Ramaikra. What's the pasuk? Toiv mara einayim mehalach nefesh. Right. Toiv mara einayim mehalach nefesh. Right. Okay, so toiv mara einayim mehalach nefesh. What does that mean? Amrei shlakish toiv mara einayim. It's better what you see, be'isha, when looking at a woman, yosem migufa shal ma'aseh, more than the actual act of tashmish with the woman. The thought of it is better than that. Toiv mara einayim mehalach nefesh. So what's the purpose behind this? What do you have to know? This. Take a look at the Taisus Yeshanim. He says very, very little thing. Taisus Yeshanim. What does the Taisus Yeshanim say? Oh, 1 second. Okay, what does the Taisus Yeshanim say? A little line. Toiv marinayim be'isha yoser. Therefore, hilkach tzarich lizor ma'od mimenu. You have to be very careful. In other words, since the act of looking has such an impact, even more than the act itself, one should be very nizer and shmiras einayim. It's a very nice musavar. Okay, the connection between all these things is Rav Ami, Rav Asi. Each one said something. We don't know who said what, but that's the connection. It has nothing to do with the digression that we're in right now. What does that mean? Meisharim means to go straight. Rav Ami, Rav Asi, anyone who puts Einoi B'Koisai, he loves to drink, then kula royes doimus love. Everything, all arroyes. In other words, drinking will be matter all arroyes, and that's and kimesher, like an open area. So anyone who goes ahead and places his eyes on the kois, he's busy drinking. He'll steal. He'll do anything. Again, it's an addiction that will lead to no good. Continuing along, Machloikas Tim Ravami Ravasi in different sugyas. Daige believe ish yishachena, worry of the heart ish yishachena. Ravami Ravasi chadama yishachena midaitoi. Remove it from your das yishachena midaitoi. Don't think about it. Chadama no yasichenu lachem. Tell it over to others. There are different people who deal with the situations differently. Some people go ahead and internalize it, and hopefully they remove it. If they don't, they need therapy. Then, or those who took it out. So it's yasichenu miliboy or yasichenu lachem. It says v'nafesh afa lachmoi, and the nafesh afa is its lechem. Ravami Ravasi chad amar afilu oichel kol madani oilam. If it eats all the madonim in the world, toyim behem tamafa. It doesn't make a difference. They're carnivores, but everything tastes like, again, I've spoken out many times that snake ingests its full hold. It doesn't go ahead and have the hano. The hano food is chewing the food. It doesn't make offer. No matter what it eats, it has to eat offer. Tanya Rabbi Yosi Borei Shloik Midas Kadosh Baruch Midas Basadam. Midas Basadam Machnet es Chaveri. Someone goes ahead and fights with his friends. So Yoridi Meir Lechayev is going to go ahead and get him as best as he can. Allah Kadosh Baruch Hu Eina came. Kol es Nachash. He cursed the Nachash for going ahead and enticing Adam and Chava to sin. Since everything's offer, he goes up to the roof. His food's there. Yorid Lamatam and it's no matter where the snake can eat. So the klala is in the klala is a bracha. Klala is Kanani, curse Kanan, Evid of Adam Yelachav, Oichel Masha Rabbi, Oichel B'Shoisa Masha Rabbi Shoisa. The slave doesn't worry. So the halacha is you have to feed the slave like yourself. So therefore, why he's eating well? Kilas Isha, he cursed the Isha, right? He cursed the Isha, and Hakol Rotz and Achareha. And guess what? Everyone's running after women, despite the fact that they're cursed. Kolas Adama, Hakol Nizanis Himen. He cursed the ground by Adam, and nonetheless, what? Everyone gets sustenance from the ground. Okay, now getting back to the mun. So Chanu es hadoga ashenoichel b'Mitzrayim. We remember the dogon that we ate in Mitzrayim. Ashenoichel Mitzrayim chinam es hakishuyim ve'es avatichim, the melons, ve'es hachatzir, the leek, ve'es habatzolim, the onions, ve'es hashumim, and the what, and the garlic. Remember all these fine things we had in Mitzrayim. Rav Shmuel Chadama dogim, right? One says it was dogim. They remember dogim. V'chadam aroyos, a dog. V'yidgu l'roiv. Dog is a remez. V'yidgu l'roiv to the act of procreation. So they remember the aroyos that we had in Mitzrayim. Man di dogim d'chsiv noichal. It's mashma fish. You eat fish. Man di aroyos d'chsiv chinam. Chinam is mashma without what? Without worry of an isser. You don't worry about doing anything wrong because the Arayas was the parsha was so simplistic. How many was asa? Well, the Madhyam Arayas haksiv noichal. The Madhyam says Arayas, it says eat. What does it do with that lashon? And the Gemara lishn ma'al yinakat, right? And then the Torah uses lashon naki by yishkav. We use lashon naki. The chsiv achla umachsa pia. It says by the Zaina after she does the act of znus, achla machsa pia. She eats and she wipes herself. So you see that the actus nus can be used to lashon of shirish aleph chaf lamed. The amr loy palti and he did nothing wrong. What does he do with the raya of the one who said a raya is from chinam? My sinalei mi hefkera, that the dog came from hefker, right? The amar kishoy Yisrael shoyv mayim, when the Yisrael was shoyv mayim, when they would draw water, Hakadosh Baruch Hu masmid lehem b'soich hamayim dogim katanim. The kadehem, they look in the barrel that they drew their water from, and lo and behold, there'd be little fishalach in the water. So it says b'efkera. Bishleim madiyam dogim aval royas oy pritzi behu, but bishleim madiyam dogim, but royas they were very nizerin. That's what it says. Gan no lachoisi kala. That lashon in Shir Shirim is a lashon speaking about the virtues of the how moral bnei Yisrael in Mitzrayim. So gan nol was a gan nol. The area that we do Venetia was nol. There was a problem of arroyos. So what do you says? And those that what that the nizar that would not that serum in the future they were like pritzibu. That one that bnei Noach was muzaran, they were like pritzibu. After Matan Torah, there were many arroyos that before Matan Torah were permitted. After Matan Torah, there was so Moshe found them crying. Al iskei mishpachosav. They were crying regarding what? The iskei mishpachosav. Shenesulem lishkavetzlam. Elamandi yoma dogim ma bachlam mishpachosav. Why were they crying? after Matan Torah. It says, they had both. They were crying for both. And now the pasuk had said, "Es hakishuim, es havtikim, es hachotzer, es habetzelim, es hashumim." So there's 5 things: kishuim, havtikim, chotzer 3, betzelim 4, and shumim 5. Ravami Ravasi, here they come again. Chanam tam kol aminim tamu b'mon. They teach the tam of everything in the mon. However, tam chamish aminim alalu loy tamu boy. The tam of these 5 things they did not taste. They didn't taste these 5 things. They didn't taste onions, they didn't taste leek, they didn't taste garlic, they didn't take these melons. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says something fascinating. I'll tell you something. Halol loy tamu, right side. Shehin koshin lubarois umenikois. These 5 things are difficult for pregnant women and nursing women. Kidamina b'sefri. I have a daughter-in-law who did this taka, and she has a very, very good kid. She was very makbid during her pregnancies. She never ate cucumbers, she never ate squash. It was very interesting. She was makbid. She was Heinemann's granddaughter, and she was makbid the whole time. This, and she saw mamish was the children were in colicky. They slept well. It was very interesting. Tell it to the granddaughter now the grands. Okay, one says tam kolaminim tamuit. Taman umashashan v'halalu taman v'lemashashan. Well, everything else you were able to taste and you're able to feel. As you wanted a steak, it looked like steak. If you wanted fish, it looked like fish. Whatever. But these 5 things you could taste, but what you couldn't look at. So we have different meaning. Either you can taste them, or you could taste them, but you couldn't feel them. It says v'hu kizera gad lavan. It's describing the mon, what it looked like. It says kizera gad lavan. Amar Avasi ugel kigida. It's ugel. It's round kigida, like some type of seed. The lavan kibargolis in white, like a pearl. The Tanarabanan, Gad shedoim lezera pishton bigvulin. It looks like flaxseed in its shell. Acher moimim Gad shedoim lahagoda. That the mon is similar to Haggadah. The Haggadah shemoisheches liboy shel adam kemayim. That what it draws a person like water. Interesting Torah. Tanya idach, another by said God shemagalem Yisrael. God is from not the lashon of gid, lashon of magid. Listen to this fascinating Gemara. Shemagalem Yisrael iben tishel arishain iben shival achrein. Okay, what does that mean? Outside guys, we know when a woman gets divorced or her husband dies, she has to wait 3 months to go ahead and remarry in order to ascertain that if she's pregnant, that who the father of the child was. Let's say she didn't wait 3 months, so it's a suffix. Whether it's a full term 9 or an early 7. So if it's a 7, it's the child of the second husband. If it's a 9, it's a child of the first husband. The mon was able to go ahead and ascertain that because we know the mon went according to the amount of people in the house. So if it went to the house of the first husband, it went to the second one. Okay. Lavon shemal bin avonasem shel Yisrael. That it goes ahead and make white the avonas Yisrael. Right then, it made white the avonas of Yisrael. Rashi says. Top left, since they were worried, every day was a new day. When we learn it, every day the mon came down. They didn't know that. Every single day was a lesson in bitachon. You didn't know what's going to come. So it says, as a result of that you have to come to the Bnei Shalom. The mon had an effect that it went ahead and it was made Bnei Yisrael serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu better. Fascinating. Tanya Rabbi Yossi Mikashem Navi Hayamagelam Yisrael Masha Bechurim Masha Bestakim. Just like the Navi would tell you all the inner secrets that's hidden in the house. Kachamon Magalam Yisrael Masha Bechurim Masha Bestakim. Ketzad Shnaim Shebol Lefnei Moshe L'Din. 2 people come to din. Ze Omer Avdi Ganafta. Ze Omer Ata Machartali. One says you stole it. One says you sold it to me. Amla Moshe Leboika Mishpat. In the morning you're going to see what the Lamacher Imnim saw Omer Bebeis Rabbi Rishain B'Yeduah she said Gunva. The other person stole it because since the man was there, obviously that the Evet still belongs there. And Nimsa Omer Bebeis Rabbi. If you find that extra Omer of the Goyles in the house of the second one, Sheni B'Yeduah she said Machal already sold it. She was sarcha. She did something. She was a ksuba. She said, no, who sarcha? He did something to me. Ksuba. It was in her husband's house. That she did something wrong. But it's in the father's house that extra she sarcha. It says, Laila, Yorid Aman love. And when the tal came down in the machne, then the mun came down. So there was a layer of tal underneath the mun. Uksiv, it says, but so we know it's b'machne. Uksiv, it says vayetze v'laktu. It says they went out and they were malake. Uksiv shatu v'laktu. So you have a problem over here. It's in the b'machne. One place it says they had to go out. One place it says it was in the machne. Another place it says they had to go out. Another one says shatu they had to go ahead mamish go out far. Okay, it said tzadikim yored al pesach batayim. The tzadikim that was b'machne. That was mamish in the house. Beinim, the middle guys, yotzu, they had to go out v'laktu to gather. Rishoyim shatu, they had to go far v'laktu. Ksiv lechem uksiv ugois uksiv v'tachanu. Mashma lechem is complete. Ugois you still have to bake it. V'tachanu you have to start from scratch. Okay, so that's tzadikim lechem, beinim ugois rishoyim tachanu. So in other words, the mun also not only did it have the effect of going ahead and be Mishabed Yisrael L'Bir Shemayim. Not only have the effect to go ahead and ascertain different sveikos, different court cases, it also had the ability to tell you where you're holding. Think about the Musa. If you had to go far away, Hastus, you're not in such a good place. If you have to go not so far away, if you find it close to your tent, it's a good feeling. It kind of gave you an idea of where you're holding in terms of your Shemayim and your Avodas Hashem. It says, it says again by the man that they would go ahead. Dachem meducha means to crush with a pestle. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav Vitem Rav Chama Bar Chanina Malamet sheyorid lohem Yisrael im hamon tachshitei nashim. So the adaba shenidach b'maducha. Now tachshitei nashim, women's accessory is like perfume. Now perfume was made and you had to crush it. It was made like in a mortar and a pestle. So that's lashon of dachem meducha is allusion to not only did the man provide food, it also was the makeup store. It was the store that would provide different things for women. It said another pasuk says ubashli before you'd cook it before. Amrav Chama Malamit sheyorlem Yisrael imamon sike kadera. You got all your Montreal steak peppers and your lemon peppers and your garlic peppers and your salt, all the different spices that would go ahead and make food would come down with the man. The Hemeviyah love oid nedava baboika baboika. It says by the Mishkan that they would bring nedava baboika baboika, my baboika baboika. So we have a play on words that the baboika baboika refers to that it brought the nedava, and also the man fell down baboika baboika. Rabbi Shmuel Nachmeni, Rabbi Yonasan, midava shiyar lehem baboika baboika, malamit shiyar lechem Yisrael avanim toivus margalias mamon. Came down Yisrael with the man, very fine precious gems and pearls. It says, "Vanasiyim heviu as avnei hashayam." The Nasiyim, literally the princes of Klal Yisrael, they brought the avnei shayam. Tana masiyim mamish. Some people say it wasn't the princes, but it was the clouds. So that would be very geschmack. So very good. You want to tell me that precious gems came down with the mun? So it'd be very good. The lashon and the siyim, the clouds, which came down from Shemayim with the mun, they would bring what the precious gems. The word on l'shade, Rav Avohu, mashad, just like zeh tinak tayimba, just like the dot of a woman, the tinak is yonikba, kama taimim and taste different things depending on what the mother eats. The milk is going to taste like. Afamon calls mancha yisrael loichem kama taimim. So therefore, that's lashon of a shad, lashon of a dad. Ikad yarmi the shade mamish. It's like a shade. Just like a shade seems to be chameleon-like. You can go ahead and change to many colors. Af hamon v'sapech l'kamatam. So to the mon going v'sapech many tastes. It says Moshe, Hashem gave it to you in the evening as basar to eat, and lechem in the morning for satiation. Basa that they asked for improperly because they had basa, they had cattle, they could have gone ahead and shechted what they wanted, but they asked shleika hoigen, therefore was given in the evening, which is shleika hoigen, as we'll see in a second. Amid beis lechem shesholoka hoigen, lechem which they asked for correctly, nita lehem kahoigen was given in the right way, was given at a time in the morning where they can enjoy it. Mikan lomda Torah derech eretz shlei loichel odam basa ela b'layla. You should not eat basa only by night. Only during the day. So what do you mean at night? By lighting, you should go ahead and light. Let's see Rashi, top right. It's not possible to eat lechem, so therefore it was given in the right time. But in the morning, you had time to prepare. That they asked for incorrectly. Mitoich keres malaya. Shari mikna rav hoyalem. They had a lot of livestock. They didn't have to ask for it. So therefore, it was given shleika hagen. Yard lehem im chashecha came down at night. Shah shein ruyal attacking oisa at shah suda in the time where water was not roy for them attacking until the time of the suda. Okay. Amar Bacha Yaakov. Back at the Gemara. Betchila haYisrael doimim ketana goylim shemenakra ba'ashba. Initially, the Yisrael were like tana goylim that they were going ahead and pecking in the ashba. They would eat like peck. Achsheba Moshe v'kavah lehem zman suda till Moshe came along and was kaved as man suda. It's habasar oidenu that Moshe said eat b'beiku be'erev. Habasar oidenu ben shenayim. It says that this is by the slav that they ate for the slav. Hashem gave it to him and said you can eat it till it comes out of your nose. And now we're still between in shenayim ksiv at chodesh yomim. You're going to eat it, so you got a problem. Did they die right away or did they die after a month? Says Gemara, okay, it's that Beinanim la'altame, so they died immediately. Now Sadiqim didn't ask for it. So there's only two people. There's Beinanim that asked for it and Rishayim. So the Beinanim, they died right away. Rishayim, it's started from the whole kind of Chodesh Yomim, l'chayre, they wouldn't get great pain until what? A month passed. It says Vayishtachu, Lashon Vayishtachu, Lashon Shetach, Lashon spread out, the mom was spread out. Amrei Shlakash al Tikru Vayishtachu Ela Vayishchatu, that they had to go ahead and shecht. That they had to go ahead and shecht. Malamed sheneschayvu saneim shel Yisrael shchita. Malamed that the bnei of the saneim shel Yisrael mechayev. They were fired. They were shchita. Shetuach. Shetuach. When it says shetuach, tan mishmei b'shum and karcha al tikri shetuach el shachat. Malamed sheyor lem Yisrael imamon. Davish shetoin shchita came down with the mon something that required shchita. Rashi says the slav required shchita. It wasn't like fish that don't require shchita. Slav required shchita. Amar Rabbi, mikan atalamad, like Finemar it says vayimamter aleim ka'ofer she'er ukachol yomim oif kanaf. V'tanya Rabbi Omer zavachta kashet tzivisicha. Malamed shenstav Moshe ala veshet ala kona al roiv echa ba'oif. Moshe was mitzuva the roiv by oif roiv echad v'al roiv shnayim both simonim bebehema. Al matam aleim shetuach malamed sheyor lehem mashtichim. It came down rows and rows. Mamish layers upon layers. Ksiv lechem, ksiv shemen, ksiv davash. It says three different things by the lashon of man. So Amar Rabbi Yaisi, Rabbi Chanina, the Na'orim to the young children lechem. This is Canaan shemen. The tinoikes, the babies, davash. Ksiv slav, the Korean and silav. In other words, you could read it with a shin, a shilav. The Korean and silav. We mamish have the ksiv and the kri. We read it the same way, right? But in Achanami, the shin could be written as shilav. Amar Rav Chanina tzadikim oichlem eisay b'shalva. Play on words shilav. Tzadikim ate their food b'shalva with peace. Rishayim oichlem eisay b'daim lem kisilun. They ate it, but it was like siluyin, like silav. Silun is a thorn. Amar Rav Chama about Rabbi. Dalid means slav hain. There were four types. Veilu hain. Shechli is one. Kibli is two. Pisyani is three. Uslav is four. Ma'alya the kulan is sichli. Sichli is the best. Gariya the kulan, the worst is slav. But how you could see purta, and the sichli was very thin. When you put it in the tanur, and because of the amount of oil in it, the tafach would blow up. Having mali tanura, fill up the oven. Umasikan lay atil serifi, you'd have to bake it on 13 loaves of bread. And the bottom one was so full of oil from the fatty bird, you couldn't eat it only through tarubis. Rabbi Yehuda found these slav between Beidani, between the barrels of wine of his house. The Hashem's way of giving him food. Rav Chisda Mishtachas Beit Sivi found it in the woodshed. Rav Maisile Arisa Kol Yuma. Rav the sharecropper would bring it every day. Yuma Chadle Maisi. One day he did not bring the slav bird. Amar Mai Hai. So what did Rav say? Rav didn't know what was going on. So Salik LeIgrei, he went up to the roof and Shamil Yenuka, and he heard a Yenuka, the Kamar, Shamati Batigras Bitni. I heard in my bet and it shuddered. Very often they used to use the words of Tinoikis, like I think this is Pshat. I'm not sure. I'm saying my own Pshat. There's a certain schus given to Katanim. So often a cotton would go ahead and read a pasuk, and that pasuk, but the cotton would say, you get a little hint of what's going on. So in this case, the Rava learned out that something terrible happened, and that's the reason why the slav did not come into by the sharecropper. So Omar said, Ravi, he went ahead and interpreted what happened. Shmamina noyach nafshi de Rav Chisda, who was his father-in-law and his Rebbe. So Rabbi said that Rav Chisda died, and therefore ubodol Rabba ochel talmida. It's because of the Rav that the Talmud ate. In other words, the slav that my sharecropper found every day was not a maischus. It was in the Rav Chisda. Now that Rav Chisda is no longer here, obviously the slav is no longer here. Ksiv says Vatal Shichas Hatol, Uksivu Brez Hatal. Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, Talmul Mailo v'Talmul Mata. V'doima K'moshe Munach b'Kupsa. It was like in a sandwich. We learn out halacha from here, fellas. We learn a very interesting halacha. What's the reason when we go ahead and we make Lechem Mishnah? Right now, Lechem Mishnah is an allusion to the man, because on Friday fell down Lechem Mishnah. So we cover the bread. Many people think, and rightfully so, that since we're going to make a bracha on Gofen, so we should cover the because of the chashibas of the bracha of Hamaitzi, we cover up the challah. Now let me ask you a question. Let's say you don't have lechem mishnah on the table, and then you went ahead and you made kiddush. When you bring it out, do you have to cover it again? Now, if it's al the time of the bracha, you wouldn't have to cover it. I made the bracha already. But if it's the tam al mon, that the mon was the lechem mishnah is symbolic of the mon, and the mun was encapsulated on two coverings, you'd have to cover it even at that time. In other words, if you're bringing it from the kitchen, even after the bracha, it would have to be covered because of the mun. So nafkamin and halacha, what the reason is, whether the top or the bottom. It's very geschmack. It says by the mun, it says, dak mechuspas, amrei shlokish dovashani muach al pisas yad. Something that could be what melt in your hand. Rabbi Yochanan Ramah, dovashan nivla ben masayim v'abor shmoina evarim. There's something that is in what? It would be absorbed in your 248 avarim. In other words, if you ate mun, it was unnecessary to go to the bathroom because it was pure, and it would be absorbed in 248. Now the Gemara feels that the way we know that is from the lashon of mechuspas, that the gematria of mechuspas must be 248. However, if you do the math, it's 254. So the Gemara says right away, mechuspas tuvahave. Mechuspas is more. It's 254, not 248. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak. Mechaspes. Take away the vav, guys. 254 minus what? Minus 6 is 248. So very geschmack. I guess it's in Ksiv. It says Tarabanan. Lechem abirim ochel ish. Lechem abirim. The lechem of abirim man eats. Abirim is mashma, something special, something noble. In this case, malachim. Lechem shemalchi ashar is oichlen. Oisai. The Rebbe Kiva. It's a fascinating. We know malachim don't eat, so this is lechem abirim oichle ish. Kshenemru devarim l'fnei Rabbi Yishmael amalahem tzuv amru liYaakov leAkiva. Go say to Akiva, Toyisi, you made a mistake. Chal yashar is oichlin lechem. Like fanemar lechem le'achaltu umayim l'shasisi. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't eat. Right, when you shemayim, you don't eat, so they don't eat. So I can say lechem abirim is the food of malachim. Elamani mekayim abirim. According to that, so what does abirim mean? Lechem shenivla b'masayim v'abashmoina ivarim. Lechem that was swallowed up in 240 ivarim. Almani mekayim. Okay, v'yaset tiel. If it was swallowed up in 240 ivarim, why did you need a shovel? V'yaset means a shovel. Tiel lecha al zanecha. That when you go ahead and have to use the latrine, you go chutz lamachne, you would dig a hole for your excrement. Why is there any excrement, right? If it's the mun. So dvorim should tagri umas oil marchanei. I told this to Yankel much earlier in the Masechta. We said that the tagri umas would sell things to them. In other words, they're not mun. The mun, of course, was absorbed. But we had merchants who went out there and they buy food from those merchants. That, of course, was not pure, and that, of course, would have to you would require being covered up. Even the things that the Tagmus and the mun would go ahead and somehow get absorbed. So therefore, what do you use? What do you mean the shovel? After they rebelled. I want you to be like Malachim. Now I'm going to make you go ahead and walk at 3 parsais. I saw that place. The Tana, Kishanifnim, when they have to go to the bathroom, a nifnim loy lefneim, loy l'tzedeyim, loy l'chareim, and they'd have to go walk at 3 parses. So I wanted to give you the mun, everything, and you complain. Guess what? Now you're gonna have to go to the bathroom. So 2 pshatim in Vayased. Either it was the non-mun or it was the mun after complaining. V'yatan avshenu yevesha ein kol amru kol. Amru, asid monze shetafiach me'em. Klum yesh yiladish shemaknas ve'na moitze. So in other words, they felt that it's going to come inside and blow them up because we don't go to the bathroom. K'shnem devarim play Rabbi Yishmael lama lehem al tikri avirim ela evorim. Dava shnivla b'masayim v'abba shmoina. Avirim in the 248 evorim, not avirim, evorim. So if it's going to get absorbed, something that what comes from Medinas Hayam, something that comes external. Lechem abirim achal ish ze Yeshua amar aleph yeshyorid lo yimon k'neged Yisrael. He had enough. He had so many portions k'neged Bnei Yisrael. Ksiv hacha ish ksiv hasam kach Yeshua ben nun ish asher ruach boy. Ve'ema Moshe says ish Moshe anavoid. Says done ish mayish ve'in done ish mivveho ish. Okay, a little about the man. I said this chiddush. I don't know, a few years ago. I think it's a very, very geschmack of pshat. But first of all, there's a chidah here that says beautiful. When we go ahead, Besukos Hashafti B'nei Yisrael, we went out of Mitzrayim, and what was and Hashem put us in Sukkos. So we have a whole yontif based upon that. And why do we go ahead and we speak about 2 things? We speak about Sukkos, we speak about Yetzias Mitzrayim. We never have the mention of the Mun. We never have any mention of the Bereshit Miriam. Zero. Why we don't mention them? Don't mention them whatsoever. Why would Bnei Yisrael, Kodesh Baruch Hu got us Mitzrayim, he gave us man. Kodesh Baruch Hu Mitzrayim gave us water. Says the Chidah, water came as a result of complaining. Man came as a result of complaining. The Sukkos, they never complained about their dira, and therefore the Sukkah was the only thing that came as a result of complaining. When a person complains, it's a major thing. Kodesh Baruch Hu listens, but anything you get as a result of complaint is nothing compared to something that you get without a complaint. If you have to ask for something and get it, it's different than if it's given in one way. It's such an important kuda in life. In receiving something, don't ask for it, you receive it. The complaint is it comes to me. I want something. I'm missing something. Hashem will give it to you because God is going to chesed. He'll give it to you. However, the way He gives it to you is very different, and that's a very good limit. I have another pshat over here. I think it's a very esoteric pshat. It's very, very geschmack. Clearly, it says over here that the mon was absorbed in 248 varim. What does it say about the Dardeya? It doesn't say the Torah was given to the people in Mitzrayim, in the Midbar. It says the Torah was given la'oichle hamon. Mashma, there's a connection between Torah and oichle hamon. What is that connection? I like to suggest the following. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we just saw, when Rabbi Yishmael came with the time to Rabbi Akiva, lechem avirim, that Rabbi Akiva said malachim eat. We'll get to that in a second. That malachim eat. Malachim don't eat. Rabbi Akiva knew that. We'll get to that in a second. But bottom line is, malachim don't eat. When Moshe went up to Shemayim, he didn't eat at all. He didn't eat at all. On the other hand, we find that Bnei Yisrael did eat, but he didn't go to the bathroom. So I think here's pshat. Moshe did 2 things. Moshe was makabel the Torah, and Moshe went ahead and gave over the Torah. Moshe was makabel the Torah, and Moshe gave over the Torah. Where did we get Torah from? Moshe gave it to who? To the Dardeya, the Dar in the Midbar. So they weren't makabel the Torah, they only gave over the Torah. So Ken Zayin, that's pshat. Moshe, who received the Torah, and Moshe, who gave over the Torah, he didn't have to eat and he didn't have to go to the bathroom. Conversely, Bnei Yisrael only did part of it. They didn't receive it, so they had to eat. Conversely, they gave over, so they didn't have to go to the bathroom. The second part, in other words, was showing that they were like Nitnu Torah El Oichle Aman Torah. They were the Messiah giving over Torah. They were Ke'en Malachim. not completely like malachim because they had to eat, but ke'ei malachim, the fact they didn't have to go to the bathroom. So I think it's a nice teher. It's a nice teher. Now there's a Ramban I have written over here. If you look it up in Bereishis, in Beshalach, Parshas Tezayin, Pasuk Vav, it says the mon was created me'or ziv hashchina. The mon wasn't a physical thing. It was created from the ziv hashchina. The mon was a chelik of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if the mon was a chelik of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if it wasn't a physical thing, and Bnei Yisrael were eating it in a metaphysical way, Memela we can understand what Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says that lechem she'avirim oichlem, that the malachim ate, ein achinami. It's not speaking about food. It's speaking about the mon who was created mizav hashchina. The malachim are nena mizav hashchina. We know lost lavoi bez Hashem will all be nena mizav hashchina. So that would explain Rabbi Akiva's lashon. How could you think they eat? They don't eat. Rabbi Shmuel understood it the way Rabbi Akiva said, no. Rabbi Akiva said a tifazach. He said a much deeper thing. So of course they didn't eat. Of course they didn't eat. They nena mizav hashchina, the mon which was created from that, and malachim are constantly nena from the Hashem's countenance. Maybe that's pshat over here. Wish everyone a good Shabbos.
Good job.